60 years ago, white people had it better than black people. Over time, there's no more systemic laws that are in place. Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. What can a white person do that a black person cannot do today in today's America? Name one thing.
Well, black people...
Answer the question. Isn't that how this works?
Fucking question. Black people who smoke marijuana, black and white people smoke marijuana at the same rates. Yet a black person is 3 to 4 times more likely to be put in jail for that.
Okay.
And I know the reason why, because the police are in the urban communities. It's easier to police those communities. Sure.
Because actually, I had a girlfriend. I had a family member who got a DUI, and I had a girlfriend who got a DUI.
Just to let you know, by just saying what you're saying and standing up here and knowing what's going on through the police brutality, through injustice.
I love this. I love that behind me. There's like black people rolling their eyes, but the 2 white guys are yelling at me, telling me that I don't agree with them. This is what I love about white liberals, right? Like they know it's so important for them to sell us our oppression that they'll come up and tell us we're a disgrace. Just say it. Just say it.
You speak for
well, why don't you stop speaking for black people? That would be great. Okay?
I'm not.
Why don't you let him, who's shaking his head and rolling your eyes, speak about his experience as a black man?
Have a conversation
later. No, because you're sitting here yelling at me, telling me,
privilege.
and I'm telling you the answer. Economic privilege exists. You're saying why does it disproportionately affect blacks? Because we're disproportionately voting for Democrats, and it's fucking stupid.
From the moment this clip starts, there is chaos. I mean, I can talk about several things that went on in this clip, but just starting with the absolute horrible mic alone, so we can barely hear Candace Owens to begin with, or Charlie to begin with. But let's be real about the situation. Systemic racism has been a talking point for a long time in society about how African Americans are treated differently and more proportionally where to get crime or in trouble than white people. In this debate, I'm coming at it from a person of, I guess you can say, privilege, maybe not, but I don't have the experience an African male has. And I think Candace Owens does a really good job of speaking to that. She's a black conservative female. She has a unique viewpoint that needs to be heard and should never be shouted down. Additionally, she makes a good point when she talks about the people behind the man. There are African Americans, she claims, that are rolling their eyes and saying, "Good Lord, another white knight, white liberal speaking for me." Well, stand up and say something, people. You're obviously being called out, and this guy, pardon the language from both of them, by the way, this guy is clearly asking for a fight and asking to be taken down, and he gets just that. Instead of listening to her, he talks over her, and she says, start yelling. I mean, that doesn't help. The mic is terrible, but she has to start yelling to get her point across. This man will not listen. It seems to me that what we see in society, and I agree with Candace, is white liberals white knighting for causes that have nothing to do with them because they believe that they're helping or an ally to someone who's being quote-unquote oppressed. That's not always the case. In fact, a lot of times, when white liberals come and white knight for people, they make things worse. It actually reminds me of colonialism. It reminds me of white man's burden. Like it's somehow white people's jobs to talk about the lived experience and the lived situation of African Americans. But it's now mostly looking like white liberals shouting down a black conservative over that issue. Talk about irony here. It's very, very ironic. Now, there's probably more context to this clip. There was probably more shouting back and forth, but I would love to hear a more reasonable, rational debate on this issue. And I think that provided a better microphone and maybe a different venue, this could have happened. But of course, leave it to the left to be irrational and yell at a black conservative woman because she disagrees with them.